Survival tips by real people.
Okay, so um, we're talking about the economy and how it's possible that, and very probable that the costs of things are going to go way up. Um, and so we're going to give some tips for those who don't realize how to save money.
Yep.
So the first tip is basically watch what you buy, and you've found a skill of buying. Tell them about sitting in Walmart and figuring out the cost of something.
Oh, you can definitely look at the tags and see what your value is per price point. That definitely helps a lot when you sometimes buy it in bulk, larger quantities. You can save money. For sure, that's a big, huge thing at Costco. But you got to be careful what you buy because some things are more expensive in bulk.
Yes, and so it's that's a good point. It's like we look at meat and for a slightly different kind of meat, and then maybe it's a little bit getting close to the expiration date. It's a lot cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to look per pound. I looked at two different packages, and they were both the same piece of meat, and they were going to expire in 3 days, so they were cheaper. But the one piece, which was exactly the same type of meat, beef, was uh, was $2 more a pound. So watch and that's the other thing is I see people just looking at the price. Don't look at the price. Look at the price per pound. You can grab your phone and do a quick, calculation. You put in put in the price and then divide it by the pounds, and that'll tell you. Or you can do the ounces if you can figure it out that way. But that's a good way to do it. And don't always trust those little tags at like Walmart that say
Yeah.
this is 21 point because they do two things. One, they use a different scale for the same products.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find two different products on the shelf, and one of them will be per pound and one of them will be per ounce. So the one um, per pound or per ounce looks cheaper than the other, but in reality it's reversed. So that's a trick they use. Um, watch for watch for in meat. Watch for the quality, sure, but you can cook things differently to where a cheaper piece of meat actually tastes better than a more expensive piece of meat. And you can look for fat content in the meat, but sometimes depending on how you're grilling it or cooking it, the fat actually is the flavor, especially in chicken and some other things. So kind of like weigh out what you like versus what you're purchasing.
Yeah.
So
And
we were. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
don't get fooled by saying, "Oh, that's great. It's $5.99. Oh, perfect," and then find out it's $5.99 a pound. So it's actually $40 for hamburger, because it's might seem like a good price, but it's the high fat and not gonna and close to expiration, and so you can get the same meat for smaller amounts for maybe $1 more, but you're not gonna have to to be fooled by the price line that's not real. Uh, I've seen steaks for sale in the specials. You're like, oh wow, this beautiful steak for $12.99 a pound, and the total price point is $55, $56 for 3 pieces of steak.
Right. So watch where not only watch how much it is, but watch the per pound and the per price per pound, and compare those to other meats that are going to be out there. Now it might be that your finances are going to say do the cheapest thing possible. Now it's always baffled me that the fake meat product companies haven't really kept their price point. They were always a little higher than me, and now they're not any lower than me, and they really should be. Black beans don't. I mean, the most of them are made out of black beans. They don't really cost that much, so like they're stupid. If they were smart, they'd make it themselves half the price of meat, and I would eat something that tastes like meat if it were half the price of meat. Um, so we always look for deals. We always look for specials and put them in our freezer, and that's a way to save money too.
Another way too is because we like to eat healthy. Sure, you can go for the Tuesday deal at KFC for $10 for 8 pieces of chicken, but you're going to get really greasy chicken, so that's going to be a treat once in a while. But one of the things that we did today was to purchase it. We're going to be making a chicken soup. It's Southwestern style with lots of vegetables for filler, and that's going to help save on costs because that lasts quite a few meals. And it's very good for you with broccoli and carrots and and pieces of broccoli, carrots, and garlic chunks.
So we were talking like we weigh out the value of the food versus the cost, I've got pictures I'll put in here, but there's a couple of pictures at Walmart where they're like a little bag of chips for $6. I mean, that would be outrageous anytime in the last, anytime, because I mean it was a dollar chips like not that long ago, and now they're $6. So weigh out the cost, the value of the food, and really, do you really want those pretzels to go stale in your closet, or do you really want those chips to go bad? Or are you going to eat them and then add extra calories? And that's another thing that we've realized
Mm-hmm.
is you eat by calories. So you eat not carbohydrates. I would lower carbohydrates, but to eat healthy, you do high vegetables and high meat, or protein and vegetables. It can be vegetable protein, doesn't matter. But you want to lower the carbs because Americans eat far too many carbs. That's why we're so fat. So if you're gonna restrict your budget and try and bring it way down. If you want to take your budget and lower it, you want to think about the value of the food, and you'll get what I mean by the price of what I'm talking about. But the value of the food is shit, and so you really shouldn't be buying it if you can't afford it. And that's another thing is you need to really watch the quality of the food.
So here's an interesting thing. So we used to have a really high food bill, and then we realized how to not only eat healthier but also to lower our food bill. So you might pay a little bit more for something healthy, but you're actually lessening your food bill. And I'll tell you how. That's because you're going to eat less food. Carbs make you hungry. Give them the example of why restaurants feed you bread.
They feed you bread at first because the carbs actually hitting your stomach first make you hungrier. So you eat the next one, you eat the next amount, and they're hoping that you'll buy a dessert after that. So carbs first in a restaurant is kind of a cute little trick. They give you free bread, but they do that so you'll buy more or drink more.
Make you hungrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about eating out. So my wife uses her phone, and she go ahead and tell them about these deals you've been getting.
Oh yeah, I use the app, and you can save quite a bit, and or save up on points. We got a free turkey sandwich just by purchasing points. So we're looking on their specials, especially when you start the new app. You get 25% off your bill. That's helpful too, because we really don't eat out that often. We really eat home because you just don't know what they're putting in the food. That's the other thing is a lot of MSGs and sugar, so that you'll eat the food. So it's really important that you're mindful of what you're eating, so that you can be healthier and actually decrease your food bill.
So in this idea, you need to weigh out the cost of food eating out. We drink water at dinner. We do maybe one soda or whatever, but we usually just drink water and eat. And so you got to weigh out whether you want $100 bill. Right now, it's $100 for four people to go to a restaurant. Whether you want $100 bill, whether you want a $50 bill, and people over purchase at restaurants, and so they have to take it home. So maybe even try and take a meal and split it. We eat a meal and split it, not only for the lower calories, because it saves the cost. So we get it. Maybe I like hamburgers, so she's very sweet, and she'll eat the hamburger, and then she'll get a salad, and we'll split it all up. And our kids will eat kids meals, or they'll split an adult meal. But you might want to think about what your real budget is. Now, $100 going out to eat at, let's say, Outback or wherever, whatever restaurant you have there locally, is a lot of money. It's a lot of money in your food bill for one meal exit. And if you take stuff home, it might stretch it a little bit, but it's just certainly not $100. Now, the thing about it is, let's say you go and you buy something, you buy a meal and it's $50. You don't drink. Alcohol in those places is expensive. You don't drink, and so you spend $50. Well, $50 goes a long way in the grocery bill, but it also gives you leftovers and gives you other products to make something else later down the line. Like you buy a chicken and you don't have to use the whole chicken, so you use it for another meal, and that actually splits the money that you're paying. So that's basically eating out. I think more and more people. I have a rule that says if you can't afford to tip, don't go. And that's another rule too. If you really sit down and you figure it out and you're not going to tip, don't go. And they have a right to their money too.
And one thing that we just, as a side note, just recently discovered, which is pretty cool, is going to the section, the dairy section, or excuse me, the vegetable section, and buying egg roll wrappers. and you can mix in. Those are so tasty, and you can air fry them, and you can add in a little chicken. We're going to make curried chicken egg rolls, and it's what you want in there, with amino acid soy and carrots and curry. That's what you want in there, as opposed to what junk they stick in if you go to pay a lot for extra deep fried egg roll, and it just tastes so much better. And those wraps are only about $3 for a huge packet of them.
So the point there is that restaurants put a huge amount of fat, huge amount of sugar and salt, a lot of salt, and so I have a palate that I can tell what's in stuff, and you sit down and say, "Oh, there's a lot of salt in this." And so what happens is that they're doing that to bring you back again, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's very good for you. And you can tell people that eat out a lot, they have a little bit of baggage on their bodies. So the other thing too is, like, it kind of frustrated me. I went to it was a restaurant, Texas Roadhouse, and I realized that she wanted, they want a 25% tip, and she said like 5 words. "Hi, my name is blah. I'm here to serve you." And then later she said 2 words. "Is there anything else?" I guess that's 3 words. My point is that I got absolutely zero service and smiles for a lot of money for nothing. So that's kind of a perplexing thing. Anyway, just my little complaint there.
And then they stick people in who just come and deliver the food, who you have no knowledge of who they are, so that way they can speed it out. I'm all for making efficiency, but when I have to pay for my food, and I'm paying a tip for somebody that's not even there, or someone who you're going to feel bad about asking for a second glass of water because they're an expediter, or you're going to pay on that's the other one, paying on one of those portable machines. If I'm going to do that, then why am I going out to eat?
Now, we went into a brewery place. We've never gone back, but we went in and they wanted you to order. They wanted you to use your phone for the menu, to order on your phone, and then pay in a kiosk. And basically, the waitresses and waiters were servants. They grabbed the dishes. That's basically all they did. The waitress didn't even deliver our food; somebody else did. And so, just not to do a thing about restaurants, but it's not worth our money to have no service. And it was an expensive place; it wasn't cheap. And so it's like we're paying good money for no service. Anyway, so that's that. The other day we were in Walmart, and my wife was going to buy something that's not a normal thing we buy. She looks on Amazon, and it was amazingly cheaper. And so we wait. So you had to think, well, do you want to get it now, or do you want to wait? It turned out the next day we got it in, and so we have Amazon Prime. My wife and I prefer it. We pay the little amount for it, but it really was shocking that we could save $10 just by waiting 1 day or 2 days. So keep that in mind when you're looking at buying from wherever store you buy at.
Hey, a little trick too is there used to be a minimum order of $20, which is pretty good. You just save up your cart for Amazon, you have free shipping. Well, they changed that to $35, so that meant that you almost have to use Prime. And so I got Prime for about $14.99 a month, and I tried it, got what I needed, and I was done. And so I said, done. And about 2 weeks later, they sent me a deal and said, "How would you like Prime for $10 a month?" And I still ignored it. Then they sent me a second notice which said, "We'll give you $7.99 a month indefinitely if you'll come back to Prime." And I've done that, and it's been great.
Okay, so where you buy food and other things are completely within your negotiation tool. It's completely within your control. So I learned, we were in a place where Walmarts were more expensive, so we had a Kroger's brand store, and it was cheaper. And then I learned that I could lower it by 20-30% our overall bill by buying sales and having extras of, let's say, ketchup. So I bought the sales. I made sure that the expiration date was right, and I lowered our bill considerably. And we lived in Alaska, in which Alaska food is just like an outrageous purchase. It was when we were there. I don't know what it is now, but it was outrageous. So I lowered our bill by going to 2 stores, 3 stores, Walmart, Costco, and Safeway. And I used Safeway's specials because I knew they were lower than the other 2 stores, and kind of my brain remembers prices. So, and you can do that on an Excel spreadsheet if you want to. Anyway, so where you buy is completely up to you, and how you buy is completely up to you. But try thinking about the sales, and I could lower our food bill quite well. Um, so let's see. So chances are everything from overseas is going to go up, at least some, and clothes are going to be one of them. So don't be overly happy about getting rid of clothes. They have value. They're going to be much more valuable soon to come. Make sure you give them to Goodwill and Savers or whatever is in your area, Vincent St. Paul, whatever used clothing stores there. And make sure you check there before you buy brand new. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. Use what you have. Try and mend what you have. Learn how to sew, or whatever. Try and be conservative. Polish your shoes. Clean up your shoes. Don't replace your shoes. So we replace a lot of things as Americans that don't need to be replaced. Try and think about how to do it without losing it.
Fix your old cars. Keep your old cars. That's the best way to save money. You have lower insurance costs, and you're not paying those brand new dollars for a brand new car. And cars are pretty reliable for the long term.
So when you're talking about repairing, you need to find out how much it is to analyze it, and then you need to find out how much it is to fix it. So the thing to find out is when they analyze it, is that money put into the cost of fixing it? I had an instance where I went to one auto mechanic, and he wanted almost $300 an hour to analyze it. And I said, was that put into the cost of fixing it? And he said no. I went to the next guy, same problem, and he was $98 to look at it, and it was included in his amount to fix it, and it was like half of what the first guy was. So ask those questions, and also ask to look at the part. If we had a family mechanic that once I got the part, I realized it wasn't the part that was bad. They replaced it instead of the real part that was bad, and I had to take it back and say, okay, so you didn't replace the right part. You need to go and fix it. And they did fix it for free, but they were a little bit scammy. They kept trying to get me to add things to the bill so that and that's another thing to look at. I mean, they were trying temperature sensors and things that were bad, and so you need to really watch what they're trying to pitch sell. If they're trying to pitch sell you on top of the fix, it means they're having money problems, or they're trying to get more money out of people, and that's something that leads to fraud.
Or they have a really expensive garage, because this particular place he's talking about actually told us to dump our car, and that was 4 years ago. We still have it. So, your van.
So the next big thing is to save your receipts. Put them in a little envelope. Put that envelope where you can keep at it. Just keep them for a week or two. A lot of things we're finding are so low a quality that they break easily. And so within a week or two, if it breaks, most states have a lemon law, it's called, and most states have a thing where you can return it, and they don't have a choice. I had a conversation with a Walmart once, and they said I couldn't return something. And I said, well, you have a lemon law in this state, and I have so many days to return it, and you don't have a right to say no. So they got their supervisor, and the supervisor knew the law and said, yeah, you're right. We have to give you a refund. So, and that's another thing. Sometimes you'll get them home and you'll realize that maybe it's not something that you want to keep. It's not something, you don't even open the box. You look at it and go, I don't need that. So that's a good reason to save your receipts. Oh, mischarges. So over and over again at Walmart. Now they have a pathetic excuse why they're doing it, but they're having the thing that tells you what money is being charged. They have it broken. And we've seen this in a couple of Walmarts where they just, what they're doing is they're charging different prices than what you expect. And so they're keeping you from being able to read that was like too much. We had one box that said $34 on the shelf and it came up $54 on the receipt, but we checked the receipt. So check your receipt. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. I went and took a picture of it and brought it to them and said, here is what your price tag says. You have to honor this. I've done that quite a few times where this is what you're saying. Now they're trying to put in these electronic price tags, and that's not a good thing either, but that's a long story. But just take a picture of it, especially if it's a high item or if it seems unusually cheap. If it seems like a really good price, take a picture of it. Then you go to the register. Now Walmart normally will only change the price on one, so if you're doing 3 of them, they might not change the price. Sometimes they do. But be very careful of your prices. Check your receipt, especially if they don't have that thing that tells you what the price is, because they're trying to steal from you. So fraudulent purchases. Why don't you handle this one on our credit card?
Yeah, be really careful. So you think it's Apple, big company, and we've had to replace our credit card 3 different times from things that were Apple charges that weren't ours, and then you can't get a hold of anybody. So Apple's having some financial problems. They're not going to readily announce that, of course, but they are seeing what they can get away with. So always check your credit card bills. We put all our credit cards on basically two credit cards so that we can keep track of all our expenses and try not to spend cash because you get cash money back or points back. So we've been doing that for a while, and then you can also track your purchases. And when you see things that are fraudulent, you can track that. That's another way to do it. Also, if you rent a car, this is a pretty big one. If you either rent a car or you stay at a hotel, you want to make sure that you get the person to take a look at the car at the end, or get your closeout actual receipt, not your estimate receipt, because they can pick and they can add charges on, and we've had that happen where we got scammed by Budget, for example. Said they were too busy to look at our car, and then we had pictures, and they scammed us for $253. $353. Yeah.
So I did a video about that, but what it is that there's a deal with a credit card company when you do that you're leaving your credit card open for charges. You need to close that credit card at all costs, because there are motels. When I talked to the credit card company, she said it's increasing and increasing. There are motels that'll go in and say, oh, there's towels missing, even though you didn't take any.
Right.
There's a hairdryer missing, and so they charge you on top of what you agreed to pay. Because your credit card's open, there's nothing they can do about it. The instance we had with Budget Rent-A-Car, they just ripped us off by $350, and it was because our credit card was open. So we've rented a car since then, and we just said, look, you got to inspect it and sign it off, and then I'll take pictures, and take pictures of everything. Use pictures and videos as your proof, as your bottom line proof. So the other thing is, when we had a fraud alert, so they changed their cards out and our numbers and everything. And then what happens is, if they think you're in a monthly deal with it, they'll give these companies your new credit card number.
Yeah.
So we had a fraudulent one, and then they gave them the new number, and I said, we didn't do anything here. And they said, well, okay. So they put it as a fraud alert on the company itself, so if anything went through. So then about 2 months later, the same company charged some more, and on a deleted number. And so, and we called them up and we said, okay. So they gave us immediate credit. But what it's saying is that this is going to get worse. Be very careful what's being charged to your cards. You know, there are companies that'll go in and help you delete charges off your cards. So know what you're being charged for, and know if that's what you want or not before you approve them. And go in and try and stop them. But our experience with Apple was just ridiculous. Our experience with Budget, I mean, we had we had pictures of the car. It was clean when we returned it, and they basically never responded, and Apple never responded. And so
we had the same thing. Don't forget, Microsoft did a huge number on us too.
Yeah, so these major companies or thieves that are stealing from them are stealing your credit card numbers. So make sure that you go through everything. Make sure what you're looking for. So don't steal. It's not worth the problems that it causes in retail, and it ruins your name. So don't. If things get desperate, go to churches, go to your friends, go to your family. Don't steal. It's just not worth it. It's not worth the pain that it's going to cause you. So that would be what I'd say.
I got a funny story. So we're on this app about unused food, and it's supposed to be a good price. And so we thought, well, that would be kind of fun. There's some place not too far from us. So we tried it out, and they actually packaged, it was supposed to be day-old leftovers for what they have. It turned out to be in a disgustingly greasy bag of donuts that I wouldn't even eat. I wouldn't even feed it to my dog. And that was them trying to advertise their product. And the donuts were obviously not day old. They were a week old. And so, be careful of scams like that, because it's your gas getting to the place as well. But why would they put that product out as the representation of their product? I don't get it.
So they refunded your money. Most of them
Yeah.
that we tried, they were just not edible.
Yeah.
So, and you can kind of make a family habit out of it, or a family deal where you make food up in advance. I had my first marriage. I had these big giant children, these big giant boys, and they would eat huge amounts. So I'd make a lasagna in a turkey pan, a giant lasagna. The cheap way there was called quickie lasagna, and I'd make this. They loved it, but the problem is that to get it last a couple of days, I would have to make a huge amount, and then divide it up and freeze some of it and stuff. So just look at those options and try and think about maybe cooking as a family. It's kind of a good thing to teach your kids how to cook. My first son's and my son now he's gonna know how to cook. He knows how to cook some, but teach him how to cook. The schools may not do it well, or might not do it in a way that's going to help your child later in life. My middle son, he would have dates, and he would cook for his dates because became such a great cook. And he said it was really kind of something he added to his dating life, was to be able to cook for the girls that he would date him. So anyway, thank you very much, and we hope these tips help you. And we know that things are going to get tough, and we're sorry. We're very sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.